Man, am I bored. I wonder what game I should review next. Only 2 episodes in, and yet, so many games in my collection left untouched. But yet, at the same time, thinking about it, what game could I review that hasn't already been done before? I mean, I'm all up for reviewing just about any game, but not if the game's already been done to death. What game could I review that hasn't already been talked over a million times before that not many people know of? Well, let's see. So far, I reviewed the cancel Resident Evil Game Boy game that not that many people knew of in terms of the history, and that one anime crossover game, Heroes Fantasia, for the PSP. It seems like I know a lot of games that are left unknown for people like me to dig up and share with others, but yet, most games I have seen and dug up by others already, with me being left without any ideas. Man, is reviewing this hard? I remember like 5 years ago, it just seemed so simple. Like, you'd watch someone review something, and it just seemed like it didn't take any effort at all. Boy, was I wrong. Because it takes a lot of effort. 5 years ago, huh? Man, has it really been on that long since the whole VIB113 thing? I wonder. I'm getting a call from Red Knight. I already told him I'm in the middle of thinking of what I could review next. I wonder what the hell he wants.
Hello, Red Knight.
Hello, Vib.
What'd you call me for? I'm kinda in the middle of something.
What are you busy with?
Well, I'm kinda stuck with ideas here for my next game review, and I can't think of anything to review at the moment.
Did you try the AVGM pen trick?
Yes, I tried the AVGM pen trick, but I kept missing.
What about any games that are on your mind?
Well, the thing is that I'm trying to think of games to review that, haven't already been done to death. I'm trying to, get some ideas fresh in my head, because, it's just so hard to do.
What about that Battle Stadium DON game you were telling us all about before?
No. I'm saving that for a later episode.
Well, I'm out of ideas.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Remember that Digimon unboxing you did a little while ago with the cards and that toy Digivice?
Yeah, I remember. What about it?
Well, I do have this Digimon PS1 game just kind of sitting here that I think you might enjoy it for a review.
Wait, is it Digimon World 2?
No.
Digimon World 3?
No.
Oh, I know. You mean Digimon Card Battle, but I don't remember that game being that great.
No.
What game then?
Well, I will show you. Look over there.
Oh, Jesus, what hit my head? Huh?
Digimon Rumble Arena. Not that many people talk about this game that much. And yet, I remember this game being such a good game when I was a little kid. Not much is talked about it at all except for its awesome sequel. It's definitely a good game. I wonder why not that many people talk about it. Hey, wait a minute. Hello everyone, welcome to the Gaming Zone. I'm your host, Mr. VIB113 here today giving you a review of...
Digimon Rumble Arena!
Yeah, that. Digimon Rumble Arena is a fighting game released by Bandai for the PlayStation 1 in Japan in 2001 and in America and Europe in 2002. It was based off of all 3 of the Digimon seasons that were out around that time, Adventure, Zero 2, and my favorite, Tamers, and featured 3 Digimon from each of the said seasons. Though I didn't remember seeing any commercials for the game when I was younger, only because the game just was one of those games that came out of the blue, like most games when I was younger did in America. The way I remember discovering the game was when I found it at my local movie gallery when I was younger and decided to rent the game for a day thanks to my mom, and I went home and played it, and I instantly fell in love with the game. It became one of my favorite fighting games to play. I remember the game being one of those games I could just sit there and play for hours. I mean, it didn't seem at the time like there was anything wrong with the game at all. It just seemed like it was perfect. The characters were great, the gameplay was great, and the music was great, and I would continue to think this all the way up until Digimon Rumble Arena 2. And ever since then, I haven't really played this game much ever since, so I wonder, how is this game now? Is this game still as enjoyable as it was 9 years ago? Let's find out, shall we? To start off with this game, there is one thing I'd like to discuss first, before everything else, and that would have to be what's on the menu. If you get a fighting game at home, it's normally a good thing to have your fighting game have multiple modes. More than just the arcade mode, so you at least have some replay value after you beat the game, well, that and a decent number of unlockables, of course. Now let me just say this, having a short amount of modes doesn't make the game any less fun to play, at least in my opinion anyway. It just makes the game lose its fun factor after a good amount of minutes put into the game. Some games are like this though, like Virtual Fighter, which is one of my favorite fighting games ever, so I can't really complain if the game is like this. But, unlike Virtual Fighter, at least this game actually has a good number of unlockables. So that's a good thing. From the start, the game has 3 modes total, an arcade mode, a versus mode, and a CPU battle mode, with 2 unlockable modes, both of which being the randomly 3 selected minigames for 1 or 2 players. So that's not bad, I suppose, not a good amount of modes, but then again, a fighting game doesn't need like 1,000 modes to be enjoyable, unlike most fighting games today. But at least this game has a good amount of unlockable characters, something that seems to be lacking in today's fighting games. For the arcade mode at the start, you have 9 characters to select from. As I said earlier, 3 from Adventure, being Agumon, Gabumon, and Patamon, 3 from 0-2, being VIB113, Wormmon, and Gatomon, and 3 from Tamers, being Guilmon, Terriermon, and Renamon. All of which all seem to have their own type, according to the manual, of which Agumon, VIB113, and Guilmon consist of fire, Patamon, Wormmon, Terriermon, and Renamon all are of nature, and Gabumon and Gatomon are listed as water. Gabumon I can understand, I have no idea why they listed Gatomon as such. One interesting thing, once you select a Digimon, their tamer will appear to say something right before a battle, and will also give something to say when the Digimon digivolve. Now onto the gameplay of this game. The gameplay of this game is quite decent to say the least. The gameplay runs in a full 3D polygon engine like most games did on the PlayStation, but you can only move on a 2D plane, which means no sidestepping, just like Super Smash Bros. And honestly, I like that. It makes the environments and the characters stand out more. Though the fighting itself is kind of slow, and there is a bit of a button delay in the attacks, which is a little bit annoying, but it's not so much noticeable to ruin the game in any way. One major issue I do have, though, is that the game seems it can't handle itself sometimes. Sometimes in the middle of battle, it'll actually lag really badly. Like in the middle of a Digivolution, or in the middle of an attack, or when the middle of a damage spot comes up. It's very noticeable. It's not that bad, but it is kind of a downer. In terms of fighting, it does kind of remind me a tiny bit of Virtual Fighter. You have 3 buttons to attack with though, instead of 2 and a block button. One being the punch button, with the other 2 being special moves, the mid special move and the heavy special move. The mid special move mainly consists of dash type moves, being the triangle button, and the heavy special move mostly consisting of projectile moves, being the circle button. Depending on the character's moves and the way how you use them can do a lot of damage, just as Rookie. And these are really the only controls you can do, so that's pretty simple for a fighting game, which to me, if you're a beginner at fighting games, this game has perfect controls for you. You can also in the middle of battle find cards that randomly appear that do pretty much one thing, mess with the Digivolution meter. Like add on to it or decrease it, but watch out, because you can also find cards that do bad, like daze you and make your controls reversed. You can also find projectile cards of fire and ice. Oh, and speaking of the Digivolution meter, it's pretty much similar to the Beast meter in Bloody Roar. Once it's filled, you can press the R1 button to call forth your mighty tamer and say, Digivolution! And once that's done, your Digimon becomes Mega Level or Ultimate Level depending on the Digimon. Once in this stage, your Digimon will become, of course, stronger, better, faster, you get the deal. Though once in this mode when you Digivolve, your Digivolution gauge will start to slowly decrease, and once it's fully decreased, you will go back to Rookie, but you also have the option to drain it completely by doing your Hyper move, also as I normally call it, a finisher. You can do this by pressing the R1 button, same as the Digivolution button, like Galliantmon's Shield of Joust and Wargreymon's Terra Force. Now that's all I pretty much have to say about the arcade mode and the gameplay. Let's talk a little bit about those minigames I talked about earlier before I forget. In the middle of the arcade mode, before you get them unlocked, you will run into one of 3 random minigames. The first being basketball, of which the goal is to get 10 baskets in a row. The second being the punching bag, which you punch the bag by tapping all the face buttons rapidly to fill up your gauge to Digivolve, which is a pain in the ass, but not so hard if you're used to rapidly pressing buttons. And the final game being collecting points by launching bubbles up in the air to collect stars and other shapes to collect the most points before time runs out. And if you end up doing all the goals on all these things, you win! So all of the 3 minigames are simple and fun, which is something I like to see in fighting games that include minigames. It's quite enjoyable. The only problem I seem to have is that the minigames just seem to be a little bit too easy, even on hard mode, which is kind of a letdown, but still nice to have them included. So the gameplay itself is good, the minigames are okay, but what about the areas in which you play in the game? How are they? I don't have much to say about the areas, mainly because, well, there's not that many of them. There are 6 areas total, so not much of a variety there, but I guess stages don't really matter that much. They consist of the factory, the forest, the inside of the D-Power, the sky, the lava area, and the ice area. The factory is just what it sounds like, a factory you fight on with moving platforms of which over time the button at the bottom will open up and push you in, causing a lot of damage. The forest area has a lot of trees, it has a waterfall, and man-killing boulders. The inside of the D-Power is pretty cool looking and showing all the innards of the D-Power in some kid manner, with the stage also being the most annoying stage in the whole game! Why? Because it fucking rotates every 4 minutes! Now you might think this doesn't sound too bad, and it really isn't, but the main problem I have with it is every time it rotates, it pauses the whole stage for like 5 seconds, including your characters, which can be a big pain in the ass, especially if there's an area a card is located that you can't reach until it rotates again. Amazing. The sky is filled with danger spots like lightning that randomly shoots out of random spots, and a lot of places to fall from. Also has a giant screen that shows the battle for some reason. The ice area is slippery! The lava area is pretty much a giant digital volcano looking thing that has a lava damage spot and a very rocky looking environment, which is pretty wicked. Also has a giant face in the background. So that's pretty much all the areas to talk about. Not that big of an amount, but to me, characters matter more than stages. With all the unlockables total, there are 24 anyway, so that's all good. Now, one thing I want to talk about before I get into the music, I want to just say this is one of those games, just like many games out there, where the soundtrack in the US release is a little bit different from the Japanese release. And since I'm not that good at reviewing music, I can just compare the two instead. The US soundtrack for the most part had the same music in the stages, the menus, but the opening theme was changed from the Japanese version, as was the ending theme, and the boss music. The Japanese version had the opening theme Biggest Dreamer, which was the opening theme to Digimon Tamers in Japan. When the game was brought over to America, they decided to, instead of translating the song or making it an instrumental like they would normally do, they decided to make it a completely different song, which still fits and sounds pretty nice and has a rocky tune to it, but I still prefer Biggest Dreamer. The Japanese version also had different boss theme songs for all 3 seasons when you fight the final boss or 2-player versus mode. Like if you pick one of the 3 Digimon from Adventure, it plays, I believe, a random battle theme from Adventure. I honestly wouldn't know because I've never actually seen the Japanese version of the original Adventure. From 02, it plays the opening of 02, but it's an instrumental version. And from Tamers, it plays an instrumental version of Card Slash, which is all nice. I like that they did that because all the songs seem to fit, all but the adventure theme anyway. The American version just uses an instrumental of the Japanese Armor Evolution theme, Breakup. And that just confuses me. Again, before you listen to me rage, while it might not matter to most people, it matters to me. Music in a video game does matter to me because it sets, well, what needs to be set, even if it is a fighting game. And the thing that confuses me is if they could have used an instrumental version of Breakup, which was a Japanese theme anyway, why couldn't they just keep all the other themes in? It doesn't really make any sense. I mean, I guess it might be licensing issues or something, I have no idea. It doesn't really make any sense. They must have just thought this single song fit better with the boss, and I'll admit it works rather well, but I would have much rather preferred the 3 songs compared to just 1. Besides that, the whole soundtrack is pretty much the same and sounds pretty good for the most part. Some of the music could be a little bit better and more fitting, like the ice stage and the factory, but besides that, I think most of the music's okay. So that's Digimon Rumble Arena. I must say, after playing the game from 9 years ago, it really hasn't changed much. This game is still very fun and very enjoyable and keeps you busy with the unlockables for a little while. With the only problems I really have with the game is that it's very short, feels a little incomplete, with a lot of lag issues, and very low replay value. It's kind of the same experience I had when I played Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Very fun, but it feels like the game could have used a little bit more. Like maybe a few more characters, a few more areas of play, a couple more game modes. Oh well. At least they did it a lot better with Digimon Rumble Arena 2, and when I get that game, I might review it someday. If I get it. The game is fucking expensive. Though I'd probably recommend that game a lot more, but that's besides the point. I give Digimon Rumble Arena a 3 out of 5. This has been Mr. VIB113, and I'll see y'all next time, gang. Take care.